this is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
Life gets messy. Spills, stains, head accidents, and kid chaos. But with Anabay, cleaning up is easy. Our sofas are fully machine washable, inside and out, so you never have to stress about messes again. Made with liquid and stain-resistant fabrics, that means fewer stains and more peace of mind. Designed for real life, our sofas feature changeable fabric covers, allowing you to refresh your style anytime. Need flexibility? Our modular design lets you rearrange your sofa effortlessly. Perfect for cozy apartments or spacious homes. Plus, they're earth-friendly and built to last. That's why over 200,000 happy customers have made the switch. Upgrade your space today. Sofas start at just $699. Visit washablesofas.com now and bring home a sofa made for life. That's washablesofas.com. Offers are subject to change and certain restrictions may apply.
Do you want to find a stress-free way to buy your next car? Start at CarMax and shop your way. And if you want to browse with confidence, get pre-qualified online with no impact on your credit score and shop cars within your budget. From luxury cars to family rides, CarMax has options for almost every price range, including more than 25,000 cars priced under $25,000. So, hey, want to get started? Just head to CarMax.com for details and get pre-qualified today. Want to drive? CarMax.
What happens when you put Taco Bell's crispy chicken nuggets inside a Crunchwrap slider? You get Taco Bell's new crispy chicken Crunchwrap slider, obviously, made with all white meat crispy chicken nuggets and your choice of creamy chipotle or jalapeno honey mustard sauce. It's the combination you didn't know you always wanted. The new Crispy Chicken Crunchwrap Slider with creamy chipotle or jalapeno honey mustard sauce. A brand new classic. Only at Taco Bell. At participating Taco Bell stores for a limited time only. While supplies last. Contact store for participation which varies.
Body Bags with Joseph Scott Morgan. You know, anytime you live with somebody, I think that it probably goes without saying that it's a major commitment. I mean, you know, you're enjoying them one day and maybe the next day you're not. You're charmed by their idiosyncratic behavior, but then the next day you're put off by it. Well, that's the course of a normal relationship. But what is it that actually drives an individual to wait until their lover is asleep and they take a weapon and they shoot them dead? And oh, for the pièce de résistance, they decide to dismember the body. What is it that flips that switch? Today on Body Bags, we're going to discuss one such case out of Fountain, Florida, and a victim that actually fell victim to the one that apparently loved him most. I'm Joseph Scott Morgan, and this is Body Bags. Dave, what is it about these people that they do harm to somebody, then they go to the trouble of at least attempting to dismember the body, but yet they're not separating the body up enough to distribute it? in multiple locations. They want to hold on to the body and keep it near them. It's always amazed me, that element of dismemberment, because when all is said and done, what's the point of dismembering somebody? It just doesn't make sense. And it bothers me being kind of type A. It's, let's see, it's less than efficient. I'll put it to you that way.
Well, actually, Averett told investigators that her boyfriend, Joseph Eiler, and it is Eiler, right? Or Eller. How are we saying it?
Eiler.
Okay, then I was right. Hey, starting off with a bang, man. All right, Joseph Eiler. She says he left with a friend. I don't know where he is. Okay. Now, I'm going to just give you a quick heads up here. Whether you're Ashley Averett or, I don't know, Top Mom, Casey Anthony, when you tell police that your loved one went off with somebody or is with somebody else, you better know who they are, maybe where they're from, or get some details right. In the case of Casey Anthony, Top Mom didn't know. I left her with Zenaida or whoever. I left my toddler with this other person. I mean, it turns out to be a lie. The lie gets found out. So when you tell police he went off with a friend, but you can't provide any idea of what friend or where they went, immediately there is the red flag. And to me, Joe, when somebody begins with a lie to somebody who's used to hearing lies, it's pretty obvious. And how much further do you really have to look? I mean, I know you have to do an investigation. You have to make it look like you looked at all possibilities. But in reality, I'm going to tell you, when you're sitting across from your kid and you're looking at that homework page and it has a big F that's been turned into an A, you know the truth, Yeah, you do. I always warn people, my students that come through my classes, even though they're criminal justice students and forensics people, they have run into the police. They have run-ins with the police. And over a 20-year career, I've had several students that have had run. And isn't it interesting? They wind up in my office wanting me to advise them afterwards. But I have told them from the beginning. Really?
Maybe I shouldn't have done this. Maybe I should have done that.
What, Joe? So now your class on forensics is no longer about educating someone on solving a crime. It's how to get away with a crime.
I tell you, that's a dark road we don't want to go down because, and even teasing, I'll have a student that will say, something like, well, how do you get rid of a body? Is acid, can you use acid?
Wow.
And I'll take like a pregnant pause and stare at them. And all of a sudden the rest of the class gets the joke because, you're wondering, are you asking me this because of the utility of trying to understand it from a perspective of wanting to be a future investigator? Or is there something darker and more sinister in your past or maybe in your present?
Wow.
But when you consider a case like this, and when you're speaking to the cops, listen, cops go through very specific training, and some are better at it than others. The best cops that are interviewers and interrogators are always the ones that don't talk the most, but they know what the correct questions are to ask and where the points of pressure are. And for those out there in the civilian world that aren't used to dealing with cops, there are many people that think that they can cross swords with cops. But you don't understand. It's like swinging a baseball bat. The more time you spend in the cage, either you're really going to screw up your swing or you're going to groove it. And for most people that groove a swing, that means that takes practice, right? So for every swing of the bat, and cops getting multiple swings in the cage over and over again, and it's not just like, for instance, a homicide case. It's like somebody that gets pulled over by the police. There's just certain things you don't say, because you think that you're going to maybe trump what they have to say, or you're going to outwit them. They hear it constantly. They go from one blue light special to the next, pulling people over and over and over and over again. And so the idea that you think you're going to cross swords with this individual and come out on the top, you're not. You're just not. So most of the time it's best just to keep your mouth shut. But of course, some people think they want to, but their mouth, it just doesn't have the ability to engage lockjaw. And I think that's what happened in this case.
I know I have the right to remain silent. I just lack the ability. There you go.
Yeah.
So when it comes right down to it, just so you'll know that Joe and I love you. If you're ever talking to an officer of the law, shut up and call a lawyer. That's all you got to do. And you know what? Every time I watch one of these, and I get hung up with these YouTube videos, Joe, where people, they just think they can, you see them acting crazy. Police ask for your license and registration. You don't get to tell him, hold on, I'm on the phone. You don't get to, they do that. And it boggles my mind that people think they can get away with it. And that's where I think this comes from, Joe. In this particular case, here we go. March 12th. 2026. We're talking a couple of weeks ago here.
Yep.
Joseph Eiler, last seen at his home in Fountain, Florida in the early morning hours. And from that point on, family said communication just stopped. Family members reported hearing a loud argument between Ashley Averett and Joseph Eiler. And as you mentioned, they were living together, correct?
Yes.
Yes. I think you mentioned it, but if you didn't, okay. So they're fighting at 4:00 in the morning. Well, now people believe that was one of the last moments that Joseph Eiler was heard alive during this argument at 4 a.m. Now, I'm guessing this is going to be kind of like a Family Feud episode. There's going to be a whole bunch of people living in and around this house that know every bit of information that's going on, which only means that police are going to get a lot of different stories about what was happening. Joseph Eiler misses multiple work shifts. Family says that's completely out of character, Joe. We need to find out what happened. And they report him missing March 14th. That's when the missing persons report is filed. No contact for 2 days. That seems about right for an adult, right?
Yeah. yeah, I suppose so. And this poor fellow, he's missed what they're categorizing as multiple shifts at work, correct? Where he is just not showing up. And he seems kind of like salt of the earth kind of fellow. Right. None of us are perfect, right? But it seems like he was faithful in going to work. And when he's not seen, he doesn't show up, people become quite aware, acutely aware. And again, this goes into the idea that anytime you have a pattern that is broken in, say, a suspect's life or a victim's life, that's going to be a major clue, because most people, you and I, Dave, there's many things that we just don't deviate from. For me personally, when my feet hit the floor in the morning, the first thing I'm doing is I'm walking to the coffee pot. I'm going to flick it on, and I'm going to listen to that lovely sound of the coffee brewing. And then if she's not already awake, Kimmy will get up and we will go sit in our favorite chairs in our picture window, right? And we will have our morning coffee. If I deviated from that on any level, or if I didn't show up at work to do a lecture, or if I got invited on a show, to appear, and these times that we have to do are very, very specific, people are going to start to ask questions. And of course, in the case of Mr. Eiler, that's what happened here, because he wasn't showing up. And it seems as though that we've got stories, or a story at least, that's markedly inconsistent.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. 100. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
Tired of spills and stains on your sofa? Wash away your worries with Anabay. Anabay is the only designer sofa that's machine washable inside and out, starting at just $699. Plus, Anabay sofas are pet-friendly, stain-resistant, and feature changeable slip covers and modular pieces. Get up to 60% off site-wide with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Visit washablesofas.com to get yours now. That's washablesofas.com. Offers are subject to change, and certain restrictions may apply.
Hi, I'm Cindy Crawford, and I'm the founder of Meaningful Beauty. Well, I don't know about you, but I never liked being told, oh, wow, you look so good for your age. Why even bother saying that? Why don't you just say you look great at any age, every age? That's what Meaningful Beauty is all about. We create products that make you feel confident in your skin at the age you are now.
Meaningful Beauty. Beautiful skin at every age. Learn more at meaningfulbeauty.com.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
So, Dave, let me kind of give you an idea as to who reported, and this goes to an earlier point that you made, who reported this argument that had occurred. This was actually the victim's father that heard this. Now, you talk about people living adjacent to one another, families, you reference Family Feud, people that know what's going on under any one roof at any particular time, particularly if you've got thin walls. Mr. Eiler, Sr., he actually did, in fact, hear an argument that was taking place, and that's the last anybody heard. Now, I don't know. I mean, for a relative, particularly one as close as your father, you would think that's probably pretty reliable information. Of course, as you know, with all of the cases we cover on body bags, Dave, one of the most important bits of information that we can acquire is actually a timeline, and that's what you're looking at here.
And that 4 a.m. timeline is important because that's the last time we know that Joseph Eiler is heard. I'm not saying alive, just that's the last time anybody heard him. Now, something to point out, Joseph Eiler is 38 years old. He is father of 2 little girls. He's a guy who worked in construction, later worked at a car dealership, known by family and friends as a good guy, family-oriented, helpful, outgoing, okay? So this is the kind of guy you would want to be a friend and somebody that you could count on. So you mentioned Dad hears the argument at 4 a.m. Joseph is reported missing. Police start investigating. The victim's father, again, Joseph Eiler is the victim here. The father tells police that he notices after the fight that items are being burned in a fire pit. And he also describes heavy-duty cleaning going on. Now, I don't know about you, Joe, but heavy-duty cleaning only takes place when I pay somebody or my daughter feels bad, and comes over and does it. It's not something that Dave Mack's going to be doing very often and probably need to. But the dad points out heavy cleaning going on inside. He points out missing bed sheets. Some items are moved around, areas of freshly disturbed soil in the yard, all of which raise immediate concerns. And Joe, bed sheets gone, heavy duty cleaning, a fire pit, and dirt disturbed in the backyard. What does that tell you as a death investigator, Joe?
Well, when you begin to put all of this mosaic together, and you've got a missing person, which he was for 2 days, I guess. He had gone missing, hadn't shown up. These things that are, out of sorts relative to standard behaviors, again, you couple that with, just think about the freshly turned earth. Now, if you've got a fire pit out back, who's to say that somebody could not have been burning something? But having disturbed earth, which to me means that you've probably got dirt that is not just disturbed, there's a high probability it's probably mounded as well.
Oh, yeah.
And a mounded earth relative to buried remains is not going to look like, say, for instance, a fire ant bed, okay, where it kind of comes to a sharp peak like that. You're thinking about that. Now, this area, I think it's Bay County, which is not, it's in the Panama City area, but it's inland, okay? This time of year, they're going to have fire ant beds that are appearing down there. And you think of it, you walk out in the yard, and if you're a native there, you might look out there, and they can be rather large as well. This didn't look like, say, for instance, a fire ant bed that is kind of stacked on top, it comes to a peak. You're talking about dirt that has been turned. It'll be in big clots. You look at a fire ant bed, you've got tiny kind of granulated earth that's there. It's not like that. And then you've got multiple of these locations. It's one thing to say that you have activity that has gone on in a burn pit, but when you have turned earth, as an investigator, I'm going to want to start to explore these areas and try to understand, because I'm missing a guy already. Then you couple that with bed sheets, bed linens, that sort of thing that has been removed. So I don't know. I mean, I think we change our sheets pretty regularly here in the Morgan household. I know I don't take them out back and throw them in a big 50-gallon drum and set them ablaze. So why are you getting rid of bed sheets? Yeah. Well, obviously, you begin to think, has some kind of trauma taken place here? Is there something here that would indicate that something probably pretty sinister has taken place? I think that that's probably the direction that, at least in his mind, that the father was going to, because the father literally lived under the same roof as the victim, his son, and his girlfriend, Dave.
And Joe, put this together very quickly, because you've got investigators in determining what happened to this missing person. March 12th, last time we've heard from him at 4 a.m. It's March 14th when he's reported missing. And investigators come out and they find out that there has been some heavy, remember the first thing the cops were told? Girlfriend says, well, he just went off with some friends for a couple of days. Really? Who, where, what? Give us some details. And she can't, because she didn't plan that. She didn't have a good story in place. And so they're talking to Dad, who also lives in the house. And, well, we got heavy duty cleaning. We've got bed sheets, a burn pile, turned earth. Yeah, we got something to talk about. So very quickly, this story is unraveling. And I don't know how long it was determined a missing persons case, but from the first or second interview on site, they went with homicide detectives. And that's where the investigation changes, because, Joe, you and I have both been covering the Nancy Guthrie kidnapping since it happened. And one of the things that was brought into that case early on, homicide detectives, based on evidence seen in the house. This isn't something a lot of people are talking about, but that is a fact of that case, that from the blood deposition they saw in the home. We're not talking about the blood they didn't seem to notice on the walkway outside the house, but just saw inside the home. They being Pima County, brought in homicide detectives. So, Joe, here we have detectives called in for a missing persons case. They start taking information. They immediately sense it's something more dangerous, something much different than what they're being told. And they're able to pretty much start unraveling this story very quickly. The story begins to fall apart when officers are told by some, I think we heard gunshots on the morning of March 12th. Gunshots.
Yeah.
Now, if cops hear missing person, burn pile, heavy cleaning, amount of dirt and, oh, wait a minute, a gunshot. That does not sound like your boyfriend packed a bag and took off for a trip with friends at all.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't, particularly when you hear that loud pop of multiple gunshots, apparently. But if you like that one, let me give you another one.
Uh-oh.
Remember, we were talking about Mr. Eiler's father. Well, he actually stated that at that same time, remember, he heard the commotion.
Right.
It's about 4 a.m. Dave, he's saying that during the argument, and this is a quote from him, he heard his son cry out, and he observed him washing his face off, saying the defendant struck him with a flashlight. So you've got a lot of activity going on here. Do you think that initially maybe Mr. Eiler was told the same thing? That he was told, well, look, Joseph's gone. He went off with friends. Yeah, I know that, I know that you heard us fighting. I know that you heard these sounds, but he decided just to leave. And then he begins to put two and two together, Dave. All he has to do is look outside the house and see these changes that have taken place in the yard, not to mention the heavy smell of disinfectant inside the house, or potentially bleach, which is a completely different smell than disinfectant. And if that's not the norm, again, people they're not known in this household to go through and give it a thorough washing or cleaning once a week. Suddenly you smell bleach. I mean, I've got questions at that point in time. If I'm occupying the same domicile, I want to know, where's the smell of bleach emanating? Because I'm like you, man. In my house, if I smell bleach in my house, probably a bottle of bleach has ruptured. It's not me going through the house and scrubbing down the floors in the bathtub and all that. That might happen a couple of times a year. Other than that, I'm using, Fantastic and Comet maybe. But, I'm not going in and dousing the area with bleach. And of course, what do we always hear, Dave? With a lot of these cases, we've got people that are seen buying cleaning supplies, people that are utilizing cleaning supplies, and it's outside the norm. And it always seems that bleach comes into play because, I don't know, it seems as though that people that have a nefarious bent to them think that that bleach in and of itself has got some magical properties to it that's going to eradicate any kind of item that might have evidentiary value. And of course, as we've talked about on body bags before, that's just not the case. As a matter of fact, even where bleach is used, you can still recover DNA, Dave. And
that's what is really, when you get to the crux of the things that you know as an investigator and that detectives know. I mean, it's not like you guys work in a vacuum. They're constantly picking your brain, for information that helps them. I'm sure you're getting information from detectives. I mean, it's not like you guys are separated into your own little cell of whatever to study on your own and figure it out on your own. Isn't there some sharing of information that actually allows you to come to grips with the science that actually makes it make sense? Because there's something in here that I'm very curious about, Joe. It appears Joseph Eiler was asleep when those gunshots were fired, Joe.
Yeah, it does. And that he was taken, as they say, unawares. But I've got a big reveal for you, Dave.
Oh, no.
Because just in the last day, there's been more information about this case. And hold on to your hat, my friend, because this actually involves pigs.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. 100. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
Sink into affordable luxury. Anabay is the only machine washable sofa, inside and out. With stain-resistant slip covers and a cloud-like frame duvet, everything goes right in the wash. Plus, the modular design lets you change the look of your space anytime. Visit WashableSofas.com to upgrade your home. Shop up to 60% off site-wide, with sofas starting at just $699 and a 30-day money-back guarantee. Shop now at WashableSofas.com. Offers are subject to change, and certain restrictions may apply.
Now I'd like to introduce you to Meaningful Beauty, the famed skincare brand created by iconic supermodel Cindy Crawford. It's her secret to absolutely gorgeous skin. Meaningful Beauty makes powerful and effective skincare simple, and it's loved by millions of women. It's formulated for all ages and all skin tones and types, and it's designed to work as a complete skincare system, leaving your skin feeling soft, smooth, and nourished. I recommend starting with Cindy's full regimen, which contains all 5 of her best-selling products, including the amazing youth-activating Melon Serum. This next-generation serum has the power of melon leaf stem cell technology. It's melon leaf stem cells encapsulated for freshness and released onto the skin to support a visible reduction in the appearance of wrinkles. With thousands of glowing 5-star reviews, why not give it a try? Subscribe today and you can get the amazing Meaningful Beauty system for just $49.95. That includes our introductory 5-piece system, free gifts, free shipping, and a 60-day money-back guarantee. All of that available at meaningfulbeauty.com.
Craving bold, authentic taste without kitchen chaos? True Nature Meats Hawaiian Kalua pork delivers. Slow-roasted tenderness with smoky tropical notes. Pre-cooked perfection. 30 years supplying the finest restaurants. Chances are you've already had their pork. Heat in 2 minutes, shred for plates or bowls. Complaints turn to second helpings and laughter. Real meat, real flavor. Go to TrueNatureMeats.com, code FREEMEAT for 20% off, plus free New York strip, Texas smoked brisket, and Mediterranean chicken with code FREEMEAT at TrueNatureMeats.com.
A few years ago, Kimmy and I went down to celebrate her birthday to Key West. First time I'd ever been to Key West. And being the romantic that I was, I decided to take her out on a movie date while we were in Key West. You know, hey, look, we're going to movies in Key West. All the things you can do in Key West, we're going to movies. And at that time in the movie, in the theater, was showing the movie Hannibal. And, of course, is one of the trilogy that Thomas Harris created with the character of Hannibal Lecter. And I couldn't get my wife to complete the movie because the movie involved actually utilizing hogs to dispose of human remains. And this movie was so grotesque all the way through that it was just almost unbearable. Well, Dave, I got to tell you, big reveal coming up here. Apparently, in this particular case, hogs have some utility here. Apparently, according to police, not only did they find 5 specific areas of burial out there, and there were 2 that have just now in the last couple of days been found in addition to those first 2, and they revealed something. They were using probes, which means they were taking methane probes and sticking them into the ground prior to digging it up, which I'm glad, because you can pick up on the... Explain that a little bit more, Joe. Yeah,
You've explained it to me, and not everybody knows what you mean. When you're talking about a probe, are you actually talking about a piece of metal that goes into the ground?
Yeah, and it's specifically set up to detect methane. And if you've ever seen a bloated human body, one of the reasons that the body bloats is because in the process of decomposition, methane gas is actually building up in the body. Okay, and when bodies decompose, beneath the ground or elements of the body, one of the things that is given off is actually methane gas. And you should not normally find methane gas kind of naturally occurring. Now, if you go to swamps, for instance, and there are any number, if you ever hear about swamp fires that take place in certain locations, they'll have these little blue flames that'll pop up in swamps. In South Louisiana, we used to have swamp fires that would start, and it would just blanket I-10. You couldn't see in front of your car, right? Because it would just like overwhelm and a lot of that stuff happens as a result of the organic material that is breaking down. It's creating methane gas. It sparks off, and you have a fire. So
wait a minute.
With that said,
you're talking about there is a natural decomposition that allows for this methane to be created that actually, without any help from me, can make its way to the surface, and a fire can actually be, and it's methane gas.
Yeah, it can. If it can spark off, if you have any kind of friction that occurs. And so it's a fascinating, little aside.
Can you imagine trying to explain how your husband wanted to go fishing in the swamps of Louisiana and somehow he blew up? Well, he lit a cigarette and that was it.
Yeah, no kidding. It's just it's not that pervasive. It actually has to come from the ground, and you can smell it every now and then. Okay. But most of the time not. Methane is, interestingly enough, is kind of odorless, but it still has enough of a detectable odor. There are some gases that are out there that things like, I'm going to get this wrong probably, but like natural gas, I think there's an element of sulfur to it, so that it's like a warning. You can actually smell it. Okay. So
same thing with methane.
But with methane, it can. When this stuff begins to build up, it has to escape, right? So if you bury a body and it's not vaulted, obviously, like we're talking about going to the cemetery or the graveyard. Yeah. Now it's just kind of leaching out into the surrounding soil or the substrate, where it's kind of packed down on top of whatever element is buried there, whether it's an arm, a head, a leg, a foot, or maybe an entire body. Wow. It's going to give off methane gas. And so particularly early on in an investigation like this, these investigators, and by the way, one of the cops actually alluded to the fact that they put in, I think they said 80 hours worth of ground investigation in this case. That's a tremendous amount of time that they're spending out there trying to go over every area. They're taking these probes and sticking it in. Remember, we talked about turned earth. They're sticking it into the turned earth to see if they can pick up any element of methane. We say, well, Morgan, why don't they just dig up? Why don't they just dig up the area? Great question. I'll tell you why they don't just blindly dig it up. Because if they can document, and this is all from a legal perspective, if they can document that they had evidence of methane being given off, that is enough for them to say, okay, we had an indication with a certified methane probe that we all use in these cases. It indicated the presence of methane, which would not normally be occurring in this location. We decided to dig in this area, and lo and behold, what did we find? Well, we found part of a human body at that point in time. So that's very important from a documentary standpoint, because one of the things juries love, Dave, is it's almost like connect the dots, because things get really confusing in court. But if you can lay out to a jury, right, you can say, okay, Mr. Eiler went missing. He's been missing for 2 days. We see turned earth out there. We've got a burn pit. And so what we decided to do procedurally is we've gone through all these steps. We've documented when he was last seen. We've got spots in the yard. We're going to probe it. We probe it. Once we probe it, we photograph it before we ever put shovel to earth. And then we kind of cordon it off. We might even break it down into grids, and we'll start taking the layers of dirt off. And there, you're staring at a toe the next thing you know. Wow. I'm not saying that's the way it happened, but I've had that happen before. Yeah. You see something, and it really has a creepy factor to it too. You think? Even for me, when I would be recovering bodies, or you would be doing a dig, it's almost like part of you, the flesh, your humanity, you don't want to find something. But then you begin to brush away some of this earth, and you see the surface of an arm with hair. Wow. It's kind of sticking up, and you've revealed all of a sudden, the more you brush away, the more kind of the outline appears, and then you know that you've got a human form here.
It's just so sad that people come to an end like that, you know?
It really is. Dave, what it really reminds me of is the case out in Idaho with Tylee and JJ, where they were buried on Chad Daybell's property, or, well, Tylee only partially. But, when those investigators began to uncover, from that burn pit, elements that obviously were her, I can identify with that. I can, have that feeling in my gut that you're looking at something that you don't want to see. You're hoping that it's not there, but yet here it is. And these investigators down in Bay County, Florida, I don't want to speak for them, but they would have had a similar experience. Right. And it doesn't just happen once. Initially they had 5 different sites in the yard.
Well, I was going to ask you about this, Joe, because all right, we have a story being told to police that falls apart very quickly. Remember, missing or last seen 4 a.m. on the 12th, last heard. 2 days later, after he doesn't show up for work or anything else, finally reported missing. Now, when the police show up and take the missing persons report and start digging into it, I'm thinking, if I'm the dad, and I don't see my son around the house for a couple of days and all that, I'm thinking something's going on. I need to find out. I would not have waited 2 days. I would hope I would have been following up on this the first time I called him and he didn't answer the phone, just seeing holes in anyway. But when police confront Ashley and she finally admits, okay, I killed him. But then she has to take it a step further and say, then I what did she do to him, Joe? Because you mentioned at the very beginning, I don't know why people decide that the best way to get rid of a human being that you supposedly used to love at some point is to kill them first and then cut them up. Well, I guess it's better to kill them before you cut them up. It'd be kind of tough to get them to not wiggle around while you're cutting that leg. But why is it that every time we get into this, it's like they do it inside the house? They think this is the best decision they could make in this situation was to make it worse.
Yeah, and certainly did. And it's, it's a fly caught in fly paper, right? The more you move around, the more caught you are. Is that accurate? I'm not sure, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's you have put yourself into a position now where she is going to be caught. Well, first off, he's shot in the bed. And as it turns out, he's shot with a .380 pistol, which is a small caliber, 0.38 inches imperial measurement, just like a .38, only the round is not as robust. It has the same diameter as a .38 special, but it's not as long. And it's fired, this is a semi-automatic round. It's what we would refer to as a pocket pistol. Or a belly gun. Some people used to call it belly gun. And it's something that's easily concealed. You can hold it in your hand. Now, it's got certainly a level of lethality to it that is effective. It was effective in this case. So let me kind of break this down to you as I see it. She shoots him in the bed while he's sleeping, okay? Well, those sheets are going to have to be taken care of. And that goes to explain what Dad had at least alluded to at that point in time. Sheets are missing. They've been burned in the burn pit. He knows stuff's been burned. Dave, she takes him down the hall and puts him in the bathtub. Yeah. And this is where she begins to dismember him. What does she dismember him with? Well, we don't know specifically, but we do know this, that they were tools from around the house. And you know how this plays out. What kind of tools do we have at the house? Well, unless you're used to field dressing a deer, on your property and you've got that kind of experience, you're probably going to randomly grab things that you think will easily do the job. Well, in a bathtub, you're not thinking that, I'm going to use a Sawzall. I'm going to get a Sawzall, plug it in the bathroom, or a chainsaw or something like that. You're going to run and you're going to grab something like a butcher knife that's laying around the house. And what's amazing with some of these cases, Dave, you'll go out there and you will see multiple tools that are out there. And each one of them might have tiny bits of blood or tissue caught on them. You know why? It's like the Forrest Gump, box of chocolates. You don't know what you're going to get. It's like they sample each one of these things to try to understand the level of effectiveness because it's something that they've never done before. All right. And then once she does this, she takes the body and takes it out into the yard. Now, here's one of the interesting little asides that dropped today. They say, they being the police, have witnesses that have apparently seen this gentleman's potential remains being placed into a hog pen, and that the hogs may have at least partially consumed his body. Now, this is not something that is a fairy tale. This is something that is effective, that hogs have been known to eat human remains. They are not, I know that we all think about slopping the hogs and that they're, vegetarians. They ain't, okay? They're omnivores, all right? They'll eat just about anything that's out there. And so they're still exploring that, or at least the police are at this moment in time. Any way that you look at this, it is another gruesome chapter in crime where we have someone that has taken somebody that was asleep, not awake, waited until they were asleep, and ended their life. And then, on top of it, desecrated their remains by attempting to cut them up into smaller pieces, while the father of this man was in the same home, and then taking him and burying all that remained of him in the backyard, and then potentially feeding him to animals. I don't know, guys. Have we hit the basement yet? Not yet, I don't think. And it's not even in sight, but boy, is it getting dark. I'm Joseph Scott Morgan, and this is Body Bags.
Life gets messy. Spills, stains, pet accidents, and kid chaos. But with Anabay, cleaning up is easy. Our sofas are fully machine washable, inside and out, so you never have to stress about messes again. Made with liquid and stain-resistant fabrics, that means fewer stains and more peace of mind. Designed for real life, our sofas feature changeable fabric covers, allowing you to refresh your style anytime. Need flexibility? Our modular design lets you rearrange your sofa effortlessly. Perfect for cozy apartments or spacious homes. Plus, they're earth-friendly and built to last. That's why over 200,000 happy customers have made the switch. Upgrade your space today. Sofas start at just $699. Visit washablesofas.com now and bring home a sofa made for life. That's washablesofas.com. Offers are subject to change and certain restrictions may apply.
Hey, did you know Dietz & Watson has been family-owned for over 85 years? To us, that means it's more than a business. It's personal. We make our premium meats and cheeses the right way, even if it's slower or inconvenient or hard, because that's how you get the highest quality. If it's not good enough for our family, it's not good enough for yours. And while others cut corners, we keep raising the bar. So if you see the Dietz & Watson name, you'll know every slice has my family's seal of approval. Dietz & Watson, it's a family thing since 1939.
Picture this. Me, Reese Witherspoon, in London, ordering fish and chips so often they might start wrapping me in paper. I'm traveling with my Wells Fargo Autograph Journey card, so I earn rewards wherever I book travel. 5 times points with hotels, 4 times with airlines, 3 times on restaurants and other travel, and 1 point on other purchases. Imagine getting rewarded for eating a toad in the hole. Wait, what is a toad in a hole?
Visit wellsfargo.com/autographjourney. Terms apply.
Jardiance has a big story to tell. Discover Jardiance empagliflozin 10 or 25 milligram tablets. Visit Jardiance.com, call 1-888-968-6648, or talk to your doctor to see if Jardiance is right for you.
A little pill with a big story to tell.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.